church in North Carolina, in New Jersey, where Taylor was born. We were there 10 years. So, I mean, that's
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bienvenidos a la Congregación Unitariana Universalista de Asheville. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Asheville. Soy la reverenda Claudia Jiménez y sirvo como ministra de la fe. I'm Reverend Claudia Jiménez and I serve this congregation as Minister of Faith Development. Queremos que sepan, we want you to know, que quien quieras que seas, whoever you are, de donde quiera que vengas, wherever you are from, a quien quiera que ames, whoever you love, estés donde estés en el camino de descubrir quién eres, wherever you are on the journey of becoming who you are, usted está bienvenida aquí. You are welcome here. En persona, virtual, visitante o feligres. Whether you are a visitor, whether you are online, whether you've been here thousands of times before, hundreds of times before, you are welcome here. If you are visiting online, we invite you to introduce yourself in the chat and tell us where you are visiting from. This morning, we are grateful for our worship team, for Amy Wright Glenn, our worship associate, our pulpit guest, Jen Hampton, and our special music, Womansong. Thank you for being here this morning. And of course, you couldn't hear me if our AV tech, Simon Jacobs, weren't here with us this morning. So welcome. We are glad you are here. Let us begin our time together with our centering music.
To see the light, to be the light, I invite Elliot and Lorelei to come light our chalice this morning. These words are written by Reverend Karen LeBlanc. This isn't just a place of worship. This isn't just a fellowship of like minds. This isn't just a Sunday morning filled with spirit and topped off with cookies and coffee. This is our church, our congregation, where we are building beloved community, where we are opening ourselves to each other, where we trust and love, rise and fall together. This is where we feel safe. This is where we know we are welcomed. This is where we belong. For this gift and so many others, we light our chalice.
And now we are going to sing together in English and in Spanish, beginning with the Spanish. Ven, ven, alégrate hoy. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Please rise in body or spirit. So this morning, our wisdom story is about a mouse named Desmond, and it's written by Matt Meyer, and I have a partner in telling the story today, and my partner is Lorelei. So, Lorelei, what's in the story box? All right, there's our book, Desmond Gets Free, a little green blanket, an elephant, and a whole bunch of cute little mice. All right. So our story begins in a beautiful meadow, and there is, in that meadow, a little mouse that is sleeping. And it is dark outside, and the mouse gets up and wants to move, but finds that he cannot move because there is something on his tail. And so he wiggles and jiggles and pulls and pushes and tries to get out. And he keeps thinking, oh my goodness, it's a boulder. A boulder has landed on my tail. Now, as it gets light, he sees a
Giraffe.
a giraffe coming by, and he says, "Hey, Mr. Giraffe,
Can you help me move this boulder so I could go free?
and what do you think the giraffe says? He says, "I see that you have a problem, but you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie? I prefer to be neutral." Do you know what neutral means?
To not help either side.
Okay, not helping or getting involved. And so the giraffe leaves, and Desmond says,
I do not appreciate your neutrality.
he does not. And so Desmond, again, he wiggles and pulls and tries to get out from under the elephant, because I forgot to tell you, the giraffe did say, "You silly mouse, that's not a boulder, that's an elephant." So now he knows what it is. And so as he's trying to get away, he sees what?
An antelope.
He sees an antelope. And what do you think he says to the antelope?
Can you help me move this elephant so I could go free?
And what do you think the antelope says? "I see your problem, friend, but you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I will maintain my neutrality." And what does Desmond say?
I do not appreciate your neutrality.
And so Desmond continues to try to free himself from under the elephant, and then suddenly he sees another little mouse come up. And what does Desmond say to the mouse?
Can you help me move this elephant so I could go free?
And the mouse says, "Hi, I'm Nelson, and yes, I will help you get free from that elephant." So Nelson runs the length, because, this is little, but, elephants are big. So he has to run from one side where the elephant is on the mouse's tail all the way to his ear. And he shouts in his ear, "Please, please move, because I want my friend to be free." And the elephant is deep asleep, super comfortable, and hears like a very distant noise. So he does nothing. And so Nelson runs back, and he runs past Desmond, and then he comes back with a whole bunch of friends, a whole bunch of little mice, and each of his mice friends invited 3 more friends, and we don't have enough knit mice to show that to you. But there were a whole bunch of them, trust me. So he gets all his buddies, and they form a pyramid, and the mouse at the top of the pyramid yells into the elephant's ear, "Oh, please, please wake up and move so my friend can be free." And the elephant is like super comfortable, and he does hear them this time, but he thinks, "I am too comfortable to move." And Nelson doesn't get discouraged, right? So he has another idea, and what he does is he has all of his friends climb onto the elephant's ear, and in unison, they shout, "Excuse me, can you move? You are sitting on our friend's tail." And what do you think the elephant does? Do you remember, Lorelei, what he does?
He says, I will get up and move if you stop making such a racket.
Yeah, they were making such a racket that he preferred to be a little uncomfortable and move. And so he did, and all of the little mice played happily in the field. And I wanted to share with you the inspiration that Matt Meyer had for this story, and it's actually from a quote by Desmond Tutu, who said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse, and you say you are neutral, the mouse will say,
I do not appreciate your neutrality.
and so it is, my friends. That's our wisdom story this morning. And thank you, Lorelei, for helping me tell the story. And now is the time in our service when we sing all of our children. Everybody just look around the room. All of our children and youth, we are going to sing you out to your classes. And if you are a visitor today, you are welcome to join your child across the hall in Sandberg Hall and meet their teacher and find out where to pick them up. So let us sing our children to religious exploration. Have fun this morning, y'all.
We have a tradition in our service to make time for meditation and or prayer. And this morning, I invite you to join me in an embodied meditation, which means we use the body as part of the meditation as you are able. And I'd like to give credit to my dear friend Brooke Lehman, who taught me this meditation. She's the director of a center called the Watershed Center in New York, and they hold retreat spaces for social activists. People doing social justice work in the world will go to Watershed to restore their own energies. So I went to Watershed last year, and she taught this to me, and I'd like to honor Brooke and teach it to you. If you can make a fist with one hand, and in the wisdom story, this might represent that elephant's weight. Sometimes the fists we experience in life are outside of us. Sometimes they're inside of us. It could be self-judgment or memories that are challenging. So here's that fist, make it tight. And Brooke said one way to handle the fists would be to try to use the other hand and tear it, open it, and so try to resist, and you'll see that hand usually gets tighter. It's like, I don't really want to open that way. So another way would be to take your softer hand and place it on that tight hand with kindness, patience, courage. I invite you to close your eyes and just notice as a softer touch holds those harder places that live in us. They will soften. Just naturally, the fist will start to soften. It may take a few years or a few generations. But I invite you to take some deep breaths into your belly, holding that fist with a softer touch, a gentleness. A courage, a willingness to keep building pyramids and speaking out. So breathe in and out here. And enter into some silence with me.
And because we are a caring community, we make time when we gather to offer our joys and sorrows up to the community and to the universe. And so we have our ritual of the stones and the water, and we place in our water flowers to represent the beauty in our lives alongside any sorrows that we have, to represent happiness and contentment in our lives. And we also add some salt because we bring with us our sorrows, we bring with us our griefs, we bring with us our fears because they are part of our humanity. So as we engage in our ritual, I invite you to place a stone in the water. You may also place some salt in this receptacle to represent joys or sorrows that you bring with you today. Let our ritual begin, and we can form 2 lines here. If you have put a stone in for a joy that you hold, know that this community rejoices with you. If you have sprinkled salt for a sorrow, know that we hold you in care. And now we will add additional stones and salt for those who are not with us today, and for the joys and sorrows in their hearts. Our community is one, gathered or apart.
I grew up in a family of 9. My father worked long hours to support us. We lived in Utah, yet we never went skiing. We wore nice, clean clothes, yet they were 90% hand-me-downs from my cousins. We never went hungry, but that was because we grew a significant portion of our food. At 16, I began working as a waitress at a local Chinese restaurant. I worked evening shifts while I carried a full load of advanced placement courses in high school, eventually becoming the first member of my family to earn a 4-year degree. And yes, I also waitressed in college. Yet there is more to the story of a small-town college-educated waitress in Utah with big dreams. As I waitressed, I also cared for the people I worked with, and I befriended many of the locals in our small Utah town. As I waitressed, I earned my own cash reserve, as I knew my parents had little to share in that regard. And I helped my family with groceries, and I even made Christmas more plentiful for all of us. These acts were motivated by love, not self-interest alone. Yes, love. It is our love that challenges an economical and hierarchical worldview that assigns more value to the wealthy, to the shareholders, rather than the workers of the world. It is our love that brings in the question of individual worth and dignity and lifts up justice, equity, and compassion. How can we be more mindful of our assumptions regarding worth or wealth in today's economic world? How can our UU traditions support us in this regard? These are the questions at the heart of our service today.
You with the sad eyes.
Thank you so much. Don't we all aspire to be part of co-creating a world where everyone's true colors, everyone's identities are welcomed and honored? Isn't that what we dream about? And today we are going to be talking about, how we can honor that by respecting people's labor, their gifts, their time, their hard work. Many of us earlier this month were able to take off for Labor Day, but not everyone, because some people still had to work. And right now in the United States, 18,000 auto workers are striking at 38 sites throughout the country, including Charlotte here in North Carolina. The United Auto Workers Union leaders note that within the past 10 years, automakers have reported strong profits. And they have raised the salaries of their chief executives in the last 4 years about 40%. Now think for a moment how much that is when executives already earn in the millions. And then think what 40% means to an auto worker. How does a profitable corporation justly compensate the workers who make their profits possible? How can we live in a country where we allow people who work hard to provide us services to live in poverty and to not have access to the quality of life that we all deserve? So today, we are going to consider the relationship between faith, work, and the struggles of working people to be treated fairly and with dignity. We share many common values with labor, including fair treatment, dignity for all, and economic justice. Last year, our former UUA president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, issued a statement in support of labor. She reflected that as a pragmatic faith, we are, and should be, if we're not, committed to working to change economic and social systems with a goal of equitable outcomes of life, dignity, and well-being for all. The labor movement is critical to creating and strengthening an economic system that is fair and addresses the economic injustices we know have been experienced by people of the global majority, by low-wage workers across sectors and across gender and sexual orientations. The labor movement, which sadly is being attacked right now by our own government, was built by and for working class people, pushing back against exploitation, pushing back a capitalism that concentrates wealth in the hands of a few people. Because poverty is a policy choice, Reverend Grace said. It is a policy choice. One of the things that I learned while I was writing this sermon, I read a book called Poverty by America. And one of the things that I learned was that if our wealthy Americans paid their taxes, we would have billions of dollars that we could use to help there be more equity in our country. But those taxes are not collected. And many of the choices that we make are choices that are institutionalized, that perpetuate poverty. So it is up to us to learn about this and educate ourselves, because our faith calls us to do the work of justice so that all's inherent worth and dignity are honored through their labor. And so with this commitment in mind, we have a special guest this morning, Jen Hampton, who is a housing organizer with Just Economics, and she is the co-founder of Asheville Food and Beverage United. And she's going to talk about how she became an organizer and the challenges that tenants and service workers face here in Asheville. Jen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for that introduction, and this service has been pretty awesome so far, so thanks for having me here. Hi, y'all. My name is Jen Hampton, as she said, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Housing and Wages Organizer for Just Economics, as well as one of the co-founders and the current chair for Asheville Food and Beverage United. Aside from that, I'm also a mom with 3 grown adult children in the area, 5 grandkids. I'm a partner, a friend, and a mentor to many in this community. I've been here for 17 years in Asheville, but I came from rural South Texas, where I was born and raised in poverty. Grew up most of my life as a low-wage worker up until earlier this year when I started working at Just Economics. So I'm pretty familiar with poverty situation in America and what it's like to be a low-wage worker. So like I said, grew up in South Texas. I became a mother at the age of 15. I became the sole caretaker for my 3 younger siblings at the age of 16. And thanks to a community much like this in my small hometown, I was able to graduate high school still, but unfortunately couldn't make college work out. So I got a job as a waitress in a truck stop. Very Texas of me, I know. And continued working in restaurants and bars and cafes for 31 years. And throughout that time, I really internalized the struggles that I was facing. I felt like all of the hardship was my fault because I became a mother early, I didn't go to college, whatever choices, it was all my fault. Well, during the pandemic, I think we all realized that we're in the struggle together. Service workers like myself finally had time to relax and commiserate with each other over Facebook about the situation that we find ourselves in and our shared experiences. So we began to realize, or I know I began to realize, that the struggles that I had internalized as my fault, they weren't my fault, that they were systemic, that these systems were put in place to really keep us in a position to need these jobs, to, have no other choice and just be stuck like that for the rest of our lives. And that just felt wrong. It really sparked a fire in me and in so many others that, we got to do something about this. And that's when we started organizing ourselves into what would eventually become Asheville Food and Beverage United. Yeah, thanks. I heard that woo. So after a year of planning, from the support of, and with the support of other community leaders and organizers, people from all over the community who just wanted to see workers come together in solidarity and support us any way they could, through all of that, we launched our first campaign last year, the Fair Deal for Food and Beverage Workers, asking for living wages, paid time off, and fair scheduling for workers. And we're still fighting for that, and I feel like we're making progress, at least in creating awareness. But something interesting happened as we went out and started talking to the community and telling them about our ideas of what we needed. Something else came up. They said, yeah, all that's great, we do need it, but right now we're having problems with parking. We're paying too much, it's unsafe, it's not fair that we have to deal with this to go to work. So we said, all right, let's start a campaign. We did. We launched a campaign to lobby the county and the city to do something to reduce the costs and the burden just for parking for work. So long story short, the county implemented a permanent program for downtown workers to get reduced parking at their 2 county-owned decks. We're still working on the city, so if y'all want to help us in that regard, just send city council a message, send the mayor a message, whoever you know. Let them know that they need to help us with the parking situation. Anyways, the reason I wanted to share that part of the story with you is that we have to not only stand in solidarity with each other, but ask each other what we need as a community. How can I help you? And let's get it done together, And the reason I wanted to share my story as, where I came from, how I struggled as a worker, is to put a human face to the struggle that service workers are facing in our community, to create an awareness of the struggles that the people who serve you, serve me, serve the tourists that visit our community, to really, shed a light on their struggles and figure out how we can help. Some of those struggles, real quick, are that we lack affordable housing, and I'm sure nobody is surprised by that. More than half of our workers are paying more than half of their their income towards rent, and that's just not sustainable. And y'all can help out by getting involved with all the work that I'm doing and around housing with Just Economics, working on all kinds of policy and advocacy and tenants' rights and tenants' network, and Asheville Food and Beverage is part of a coalition working on another campaign to get tourism taxes to go towards affordable housing. So you can reach out to me and I'll gladly take any help that you want to offer. I also want you to support a couple of bills that are in the NC General Assembly right now. The first one is NC Senate Bill 440, which would raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and more importantly, would abolish the minimum tipped wage, which, if you aren't aware, most of the servers and bartenders in this area, in this state, make $2.13 an hour. That's it, $2.13. So they are dependent on our tips to survive. And furthermore, if you don't tip at least 20%, they get taxed on 20% of your bill. So they're paying to serve you if you don't tip them 20%. And the other bill I'd really love for y'all to support is NC Bill 817, which would provide paid time off for all workers in North Carolina, kind of like unemployment insurance. And because if you aren't familiar, many workers in the service industry don't have access to paid time off, and we're actively discouraged from staying home sick. So I know many people have actively prepared your food and served you while sick, because we don't have any choice but to mask it with cold medicine and caffeine and just keep pushing that food out. So please support that, because that's not good for any of us. And finally, the last thing I want to ask is that y'all just share my story. It's the same story of so many of the workers in this area. Just let people know what's going on, what struggles we're facing. Treat service workers with compassion and kindness, and show up in solidarity when we need you. And follow us on all the social media if you want to be informed on, what we're doing, the work that we're doing, and how you can help. And with that, I just want to say thank you and solidarity, y'all.
Thank you, Jen, for sharing your story and for suggesting some ways that we can support the service workers in our community. And I just invite us to reflect on what Jen said about the minimum, the hourly wage, $2.13. The bill that she mentioned is lobbying for a $17 minimum wage. And Just Economics just released in March the living wage for Witkamp County, which should be $20.10 to live here in Witkamp County. So does it make sense that the people that make our lives, our going to restaurants, our yards, our homes, the businesses that we frequent, does it make sense that they even get a $17 minimum wage when it costs $20.10, a $20.10 hourly wage to be able to afford to live here? So that's a lot of food for thought. And the book that I mentioned before, Matthew Desmond's book about poverty in America, in that book, he points out that many large businesses, and they don't have to be large, they rely on the government services and assistance to make up for their deficient salaries to their workers. So that's a subsidy in a way that the government is giving to those businesses. And when Jen talked about assumptions, another thing that I found really interesting that Desmond talked about was that assumption that the poor exploit the welfare system. Some might, but the majority do not. And he writes that billions of dollars of unused government aid are unclaimed each year by low-income Americans. Now, he acknowledges the reality of stigma and shame that may contribute to ongoing poverty. But he says that research has shown that it's the lack of awareness of benefits, the complicated application procedures, the difficult computer interfaces and verification requirements that are the main barriers to access available and already funded benefits. Just think, if people earned a living wage, they would not need to ask for benefits. But for many reasons, that is not reality. Now, learning about the plight of workers and advocating for systemic change are not enough. We must ask ourselves how we are connected to the problem and connected to the solution. Do our spending choices and lifestyles help sustain and generate poverty? Does our desire for cheap products and services contribute to the exploitation of workers? Because we have agency. We make choices about how we spend our money. And I will share a story with you that is embarrassing to share, but I don't think it's uncommon. You know, I didn't grow up in a home where we went out to eat a lot. And so when I was older and was able to afford to go out to eat, I was a really cheap tipper. I didn't have a lot of money. I was like, I don't have a lot of money to give. But you know what they say about proximity? When one of my daughters graduated from college, she took out a lot of loans to go to graduate school, and she became a teacher because that's what she wanted to do. So she had to have a second job as a waitress in order to make ends meet. And when I talked to her about her day and how hard it was to go, she was teaching all day, planning all night, working on weekends, working nights, and I realized that it was tips, right? It was those tips that helped her. And it just changed my tipping practices, you know, but it shouldn't be that because I had that personal experience that I was moved to now be more generous. But for me, it doesn't mean that we don't have to do the work of advocating for structural change. We want to get rid of that tipping wage. And while that happens, what choices can I make that are supportive? And I think we can't do everything, but we do have agency about how we choose to spend our money. Because I know another thing is I like to get things cheap. I want it to be cheap. I don't want to spend a lot of money. And that has implications for the people that are providing me services. Even all the cheap goods that we get, those cheap goods are accessible because somebody is receiving poverty wages. So what do? I'm not saying we leave here feeling, oh my goodness, but we can leave here thinking about our choices, thinking about what we can do and how we can help. Because if you look around the room, there are a lot of people here. And collectively, our generosity, our compassion, our advocacy can make a difference. So as I close, I just want to share one of our UU values that I thought about as I was working on the sermon, and that's the value of equity. And we declare as Unitarian Universalists that every person has the right to flourish with inherent worthiness, and dignity. We covenant to use our time, our wisdom, our attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. As you go through your week today, I invite you to think, what does living into that covenant look like for you? What does it look like for us to live into that covenant? May we leave this sacred space today willing to explore that and explore ways to live into our values of equity and justice as consumers in a capitalist society. And I close with a prayer adapted from Sojourner's magazine. So I invite you to just take a moment, take a couple of deep breaths. Spirit of love and compassion, help us to look with love, gratitude, and renewed wonder at all the things that exist in part or in whole through the creativity and toil of others and ourselves. May we remember and hunger to honor all those who labor. May we mourn injustice and boldly act when people build houses and struggle to afford housing of their own. When people plant, prepare, or serve food and live with food insecurity. When people bathe our sores and can't afford the water bill or their own health care. Let our gratitude for their labor and our commitment to equity and justice inspire us to join them in securing a living wage that upholds their dignity and allows them to thrive. May it be so, friends. May it be so. And now I invite us to rise in body or spirit and sing one of my favorite hymns, For All That Is Our Lives.
Now is the time in our service when we welcome any visitors. So if you are here with us visiting, we welcome you to stand. You can wait for a microphone that will come to you. We welcome you to briefly introduce yourself. And if you're visiting online, you can type your name in the chat and share where you're visiting from. We warmly welcome you.
Hello. Good morning. I'm Josh. This is Linda. This is Fan, and this is Little Finnegan. We're visiting. We live in Asheville, but we are, just thinking about how to do more spiritual things in our life.
Hi, I'm Katie. This is my second time here, but I didn't get the chance to welcome myself last time. I absolutely love this congregation, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry, and I'm here with my partner Danielle, and we've been looking for more spirituality in Asheville, and this has been beautiful and lovely and feels like right up our alley. And if anyone is part of CUPS within here, I would love for you to come find me because I'm really interested in that as well.
Good morning. I'm Margita. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, visiting my friend Eda, who is now living in Asheville, and I'm a member of UUCA with Reverend Terrence Strauss. Thank you. This is a great service. Like your building.
Good morning. And I actually thought that I was the only one from UUCA. And I am from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Akron. So we also are a UUCA. And I'm Samuel Prince.
Thank you all so much for sharing. Our announcements run as slides at the beginning of the service, and if you miss them, you can refer to Thursday's weekly e-news, as everything is described there. And if you don't receive the e-news, you can ask an usher, or you can ask me, to show you how to sign up. This morning, Reverend Claudia has a special announcement.
I actually have two.
Okay.
So one announcement is for next Sunday, and we are going to have our annual blessing of the animals. So a few instructions. Be sure they have been walked and had a chance to go to the bathroom before the service, and don't forget to clean up behind them. We'll have a cat section and a dog section and a no animal friend section too. If you have another kind of animal, those are welcome too. Just use your discretion for seating. All pets should be leashed or secured in an appropriate carrier. We'll open the sanctuary for seating at 10:45, so our pet friends aren't expected to be on their best behavior for too long, not like today's service. Feel free to walk your pets or wait outside if you arrive before 10:45. This service, hallelujah, will be a little shorter than an hour and will be conducted fully seated except for the blessing, so as to create the least distraction and stress for your pets. And parents, this is an all-ages service, so please be sure that your children remain with you at all times and don't approach pets on their own. It's a great opportunity to teach or remind each other of good pet safety. Always keep a safe distance from unknown animals and talk first with the pet's owners if you'd like to say hi to one of our guest animals. And this information, in case you forget it, because I know it's long, will be in the e-news. And if you don't get the e-news, you can ask one of our ushers to sign you up. And the second announcement is an announcement for Pride. How many of you are going to Pride? All right, we need to double those hands. Pride is on the 30th. It's next Saturday, and our congregation will have a booth at the Pride Festival. We encourage you to show up and support our LGBTQ plus members, friends, and others in the community by joining us. Let's show Asheville that we support our LGBTQ plus members and friends. Now, yes. So if you have a yellow Side with Love t-shirt, Mary, are you wearing yours? No, I see you wearing yellow. We were selling them a couple of weeks ago in Sandberg Hall. Wear your Side with Love t-shirt. The event will, where's Steph Garvin? Steph, can you stand up and just wave? Steph has all the details about where you're meeting and what to do and where the booth will be. So you can talk to Steph in Sandberg Hall. Will you be available? I will be. Awesome. Who else? Okay. Mary Ann and Myrtle. Okay, so you have different people to talk to. Please, let's show up in force. This is a time when we need to use our voices and our presence to let people know that this way, these immoral bills that are being passed in our state and throughout the country attacking our trans children and siblings are not acceptable. This is how we show up. So please, I saw a few hands up. I want you to make that a whole bunch more hands. Please show up for pride.
Thank you so much, Reverend Claudia. And not only do we benefit from your wise words, but your energy is wonderful. So thank you. Our community plate partner this month is an organization called Transmission, and you can contribute by writing community plate in the memo line of your check or donate online. And today's offering will now be gratefully collected and received. And if this is your first time here, if you were one of the visitors that stood up or you didn't stand, and it's your first time, let the collection plate just move by you, because this service is our gift to you, and your presence is your gift to us. Thank you so much for the gifts of your time your presence, your talent, and treasure and music. We are so grateful for all of you. We have one more song.
Thank you so much. The music has been so beautiful today. As our service ends this morning, may we go forth determined to be the change we want to see in the world. May our love, may our choices, may our service, may our voices help and be a part of making this beautiful world we live in a better place. As we leave, it is our custom to share a blessing with each other, and it's a sung blessing. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit and bless each other as we sing our final song.